Since 1987, Capcom's Street Fighter series has been one of the most beloved fighting games ever created. Today, arcades might be a thing in the past, but Street Fighter is still releasing games and fans still gather to virtually beat the snot out of their friends and rivals. So let's look into the history of the series. My name is Brittany, and today on Leaderboard we are counting down 107 facts about Street Fighter. Fact number 1, Street Fighter's initial release was August 30th, 1987 as a standalone arcade game. Fact number 2, for inspiration and reference, Capcom studied the one-on-one fighting game Karate Champ in 1984 and Konami's AR Kung Fu, sorry if I destroyed that name, 1985 while creating the first Street Fighter in 1987. Fact number 3, Capcom created Street Fighter with its developers Takashi Nishiyama and Hiroshi Matsumoto. Fact number 4, both men left Capcom a few years after the game's release and went to work for SNK, where they created many of Street Fighter's opposing games. Fact 5, later on the pair would move on to the company Dimps, where they ended up revisiting the franchise and contributing to Street Fighter 4. Fact number 6, the game franchise is named after the 1974 martial arts movie Clash Killer Fist. The American release was titled The Street Fighter. The movie also starred Shinichi Sony Chiba and was the first film in the US to receive an X simply for violence. Fact number 7, in 1991, the Capcom staff were not allowed to display their real names in the credits. Game designer Akira Nishitani worked under the name Nin Nin. His nickname appeared in one of the stage's backgrounds in Street Fighter 2. Fact number 8, the original standalone arcade game came in 2 different machine models. One with just the 6-button layout and one that included 2 pressure-sensitive pads underneath the buttons to determine the strength of your attack based on how hard you press the buttons. That would be so bad for me because I'm a button smasher. Or good based on how you look at it. Fact number 9, in the opening arcade cutscene for Street Fighter 2, it features a white man punching a black man. Later, the versions of the game changed the scene to make them both white. Fact number 10, Street Fighter is the first fighting game to use special attacks that are now genre staples, like down, up, punch. Fact 11, in the first version, the combo sequence for special moves such as Dragon Punch weren't printed on the arcade cabinet like they were in Street Fighter 2. Fact number 12, combos were introduced to Street Fighter 2 by accident, of course. Players were having trouble pressing buttons simultaneously to perform special attacks, so the developers programmed button inputs to be considered simultaneous if they were pressed only a fraction of a second apart. Players were able to quickly chain from one attack to another, thus the first combo. Fact 13, after the initial success of Street Fighter, Capcom requested a follow-up, which came in the form of the game Final Fight. Final Fight went on to become its own series, but Capcom wanted a true sequel. Fact 14, Ru's line in Street Fighter, "You must defeat Xinglong to stand a chance," is a mistranslation of the intended phrase, "You must defeat my Dragon Punch to stand a chance." This confused many players since Xinglong doesn't exist in the game and became a long-running joke for Capcom. Fact 15, in 1992, Electronic Gaming Monthly released a strategy guide to unlocking and fighting the fabled character Xinglong as an April Fool's prank. Fact 16, EGM pulled the same prank again in 1997 for Street Fighter 3. Fact 17, in 1988, Street Fighter was released on PC and home consoles under the name Fighting Street. It just doesn't sound as good. Fact 18, finally, the true sequel to Street Fighter was released as Street Fighter 2, The World Warrior in 1991. Fact 19, Street Fighter 2 has become so successful that it holds the Guinness World Record for the best-selling coin-operated fighting game as of 2014. Fact 20, it wasn't until Street Fighter 2 that players could choose from various characters. In the first Street Fighter, player 1 could only play as Ru and player 2 as Ken. Fact 21, Chun-Li is the first female character created for the Street Fighter series, making her first appearance in Street Fighter 2, The World Warrior in 1991. She is sometimes considered the first lady of fighting games, rightfully so. Fact 22, despite her very youthful appearance, especially with her oxhorn buns, Chun-Li was born in 1968, making her 33 by the time she appears in Street Fighter 2, The World Warrior. She gets embarrassed talking about her age. Fact 23, Chun-Li stockings in her Street Fighter 2 debut were redone 3 times before being finalized. Because of that, the studio ran out of memory and went past their deadline. Fact 24, the boxer in the Japanese version of Street Fighter is named M. Bison, but in the US, his name is Balrog M. Bison. This was meant to be a parody of the American boxer Mike Tyson, but Capcom decided to rotate the names of 3 boss characters for international versions of the game. In Japan, Vega is Balrog, and Bison is Vega, and Balrog is in Bison. So confusing. Fact 25, the Street Fighter II character Charlie Nash was originally named Nash. The name was changed by Capcom US because they didn't think Nash sounded like an American name and didn't read it as a US soldier's name. Fact 26, the Russian wrestler Zangief was originally named Vodka as a placeholder during development. Fact 27, former USSR President Mikhail Gorbachev makes a weird cameo in Zangief's Street Fighter II ending. They celebrate Zangief's victory with a Cossack dance. Fact 28, the character DJ's pants were originally supposed to say Mantis, but the word didn't look right on the other pant leg when the sprite faced the opposite direction. The designers then changed the word to maximum so that the word would look vertically symmetrical and look the same in either direction. Fact 29, originally Akuma was named Goki. Scott Smith, who was in charge of naming the characters of Street Fighter II Turbo in the US, thought there were a lot of G names in the series, so he decided to switch it up. He got the idea from an old news story in Japan where the government banned people from naming their child after the devil. He looked at the translation for devil in Japanese and the name just stuck. Fact 30, the characters Gouken and Akuma are brothers. Nothing like a little sibling rivalry. Fact 31, Ken and Ryu are the only 2 characters to show up in every Street Fighter game. The only time Ryu ever showed up without Ken was in Marvel vs. series. Fact 32, Super Street Fighter II debut character T-Hawk was originally designed to look more like an American native Indian, but complaints from the US called for drastic changes in his design so that no one would be offended. Fact 33, the character Vega's design started out as an English knight, before development settled on him being a Spanish fighter. Fact 34, the original character design for Dalsum gave him 6 arms and the head of an elephant before he became a little bit more simplified as a fairly muscled man outside of his abnormally small torso and waist, sporting earrings, bracelets, and a skull necklace. Fact 35, despite people citing the 1976 film Master of the Flying Guillotine as the inspiration for Dalsum, in which the main character can stretch his arms, Akira Nishitani says that he didn't know about the movie and his inspiration for Dalsum actually came from the manga JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Fact 36, the skulls that Dalsum wears around his neck belong to the children from his village who died in a horrible plague. He wears it in remembrance of them. Fact 37, Sakura is Ryu's #1 fan. Her journey to become Ryu's disciple started when she started watching him fight World Tournament. She started street fighting and even mimicking his fighting style. Fact 38, Adon, who is a Muay Thai boxer, is also dressed in traditional Muay Thai attire. Fact 39, Fei Long is based off of martial artist and actor Bruce Lee. His yellow jumpsuit alternate skin is a dead giveaway. Fact 40, the late Capcom US VP of Sales and Marketing Bill Cravens, who passed away in 2007, makes a cameo in one of Street Fighter 1's stages, graffiti style. Fact 41, there's a glitch in Street Fighter 2 nicknamed Guile's handcuffs. Using Guile's throw action, the animation of the characters would get stuck and the opponents would be conjoined for the rest of the match. Fact 42, Guile had 2 more major glitches that also worked to the player's advantage. If a player performed the air throw move, the opponent would take the damage regardless of where they are on the playing field. Fact 43, however, the ultimate Guile glitch was that the player could resist the entire arcade machine on the spot with the right combination of buttons and joystick moves. Fact 44, Ken and Ryu are essentially the same fighter, but a glitch in Street Fighter 2 actually gave Ken an advantage over Ryu and shifted their character balance. The two were the exact same program, but the developers briefly toyed with the idea of adding a weak point into both characters. They ultimately decided against keeping this weak point in, only to forget to remove it from Ryu's code. Fact 45, there's a similar weak point in Blanca as well, that was mistakenly never taken out in Street Fighter 2. When he does a rolling attack, he takes significant damage if a Hadouken hits him. Fact 46, including crossovers alongside the main series, Street Fighter has become the best-selling fighting game series, selling 38.54 million units. Fact 47, in Street Fighter 2, composer Yoko Shimomura based each character's music off their design and background. Even though she would make songs based off characters' specifications, she also opened up her work to the developer input and even allowed them to choose their music. Fact 48, fans have pointed out that Ken's theme song in the game sounds an awful like Cheap Trick's Mighty Wings from the movie Top Gun, best movie ever, while video game composer Shimomura admits to watching the film before she composed Ken's theme and may have been subconsciously influenced. She denies denies any of the similarities were on purpose. Fact 49, Street Fighter II's huge success led to counterfeiters making and selling copies of the game. Counterfeiters were doing this at a pace and price point that Capcom just couldn't outmatch. So after releasing Street Fighter II Champion Edition, Capcom placed an ad in trade magazines warning against the selling and buying of counterfeits. Fact 50, Capcom followed up Street Fighter II with Street Fighter II Champion Edition, which required arcade owners to upgrade to the new unit. Players, being unimpressed with this new version, began hacking the game to add enhancements. Fact 51, an unknown company hacked Street Fighter II Champion Edition and called it Street Fighter II Rainbow Edition. In it, players can executive special moves with characters that don't normally use that move. Example, Hadokens. They can even use them multiple times while in mid-air. Fact 52, James Goddard, who was the driving force behind Street Fighter II Champion Edition and Street Fighter II Turbo Hyper Fighting, advocating for faster gameplay after witnessing the competition playing at a quicker speed. He also suggested the ability for two players to use the same character and allowing bosses to be playable characters. Fact 53, James Goddard designed character DJ for Street Fighter II, a Jamaican kickboxer and recording artist breakdancer. DJ was based off the boxer Billy Banks, and he was the only character designed by an American designer at the time. Fact 54, Goddard also organized the first Capcom-sponsored US Street Fighter tournament in 1991 at Milpitas Golfland. Fact 55, Goddard was an arcade game player and Street Fighter fan when he was hired at Capcom. Initially, he was hired to sell games to arcades and write earnings reports, but his own investment in games fueled his need to be more involved in development. Fact 56, Street Fighter II for the SNES console remains one of Capcom's highest-selling games as of September 30th, 2015. Whoa. Fact 57, Street Fighter II in conjunction with Street Fighter II Champion Edition is the third highest-grossing arcade game in history. Fact 58, in 1994, Capcom Entertainment released a live-action Street Fighter the movie, starring Jean-Claude Van Damme, and directed by Steven DeSouza. Fact 59, the movie gave many of the characters first and last names that mostly didn't make it back to the consoles. For example, Guile became William F. Guile, Sagat became Victor Sagat, Ryu became Ryu Hoshi, and Chun-Li became Chun-Li Zhang. Fact 60, in 1994 Street Fighter live-action film, Chun-Li is played by actress Ming-Na Wen, who would later voice Mulan's titular character in 1998. Fact 61, the common American mispronunciation of Ryu's name is most likely due to the movie. During filming, actor Damien Chapa, who played Ken, continually mispronounced Ryu as Ryu or Ryu instead of Ru. Despite the efforts to maintain the correct pronunciation, the director just eventually went with the mispronunciation.
Ryu, hang you, amigo!
Fact 62, the character Captain Sawada didn't exist in the Street Fighter franchise before the movie in 1994. Despite Byron Mann already being cast as Ru, Capcom wanted Kenya Sawada to play him. So as a compromise, Capcom and DeSouza created Captain Sawada for Kenya to play. Fact 63, due to Sawada's poor English-speaking skills, he was the only one dubbed in the US release of the movie. Fact 64, since G.I. Joe's popularity was on the downswing at the time, Hasbro made a deal with Capcom to repurpose the toy line as Street Fighter, the movie licensed merchandise. Fact 65, the Hasbro-Capcom deal impacted the movie's production, with Hasbro giving the production team design notes in order to conform elements of the movie to already manufactured toys. Fact 66, the movie, along with the earlier cartoon, rewrote Blanca's backstory. The game establishes that he was a mysterious character who came from the rainforest, while the movie and the show claim that Blanca is actually Charlie from Street Fighter Alpha, and Bison experimented on him to make him a monster. Fact 67, much of the movie didn't include the game's signature moves, due to the schedule changes significantly reducing the stunt team's prep time, and that the coordinators didn't think the moves were realistic enough. The original cut of the battle scene between Ryu and Vega didn't include any of the game's signature moves, so Capcom gave DeSouza 3 extra days to reshoot the scene in Vancouver. Fact 68, the movie had originally received an R rating from MPAA, which resulted in Capcom asking DeSouza for a new edit with less violence and blood to achieve their desired PG-13 rating. This resulting in losing even more of the game's fight styling in the final cut, as there was no longer enough time to edit in special effects. Fact 69, after the movie was released, Capcom created another game based off the movie and gave it the unforgettable name of Street Fighter, the movie, the game. This version features the actors in the movies as their game characters instead of the traditionally rendered characters. Fact 70, Capcom worked with a company called Incredible Technologies to create Street Fighter the movie, the game, but due to initial miscommunication, Incredible Technologies was under the impression that they were developing Street Fighter 3. Fact 71. In 2007, Alan Noon posted a bunch of behind-the-scenes photos from the Street Fighter the movie, the game shoot. Fact 72. There's an Easter egg in Dead Rising 3 in which you get a blueprint for the Dragon Punch weapon, which is made of boxing gloves and a motorcycle engine part or two. The weapon lets you use Soruken against your enemies, the undead and living alike. Fact 73. Several Street Fighter series characters, including Groot, Zangief, M. Bison, etc., make cameos in 2012 Disney's film Wreck-It Ralph. Did you catch them? Fact 74. 28 years since the first game, Street Fighter is Capcom's second best-selling series behind Resident Evil. Fact 75. Both Ryu and Evil Ryu make cameos in fellow Capcom video game Asura's Wrath. Ryu fights protagonist Asura and turns into Evil Ryu during the middle. Ryu loses and turns back to normal after Asura punches him straight into the moon from the earth. Fact 76. Marvel character Deadpool is a fan of Street Fighter, or at least familiar with it.
Feel the love of the hyper combo!
The break the fourth wall Merc with a mouth references it in the comics. Example, a scene where he asks a woman if she's heard of Street Fighter and proceeds to interrupt her by executing a shuriken on her. He also performs the move in video games such as his own in Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Fact 77. In the game Muscle Bomber 2, there's a stage that takes place in Moscow, Russia. Zangief can be seen sitting in the crowd. Fact 78. The Street Fighter franchise holds the Guinness World Record for most prolific fighting game series for producing 127 games as of 2014, not including the compilations. Fact 79. The band Man Factory has written and recorded the first installment of a rock opera based off of Street Fighter. Fact 80. The first Street Fighter is the only game in the series which has the opponents speak to the players after battles. Fact 81. Every assassin of Shadaloo's brainwashed teenage army, the dolls except Cammy, are named after the months of the year, most in their own home language. Fact 82, and sorry if I destroy any of these names, manufacturer of pop culture figures Kotobukiya has a Street Fighter Bihoju line that includes Chun-Li, Poison, Sakura, Cammy, and Juri. So far. The figures are based off of the illustrations by artist Shanya Yamashita. Fact 83, there was an American animated show for Street Fighter called Street Fighter the Animated Series. It ran for two 13-episode filled seasons from 1995 to 1997. Yeah, we try not to talk about it. Fact 84, Street Fighter did a crossover with fellow Capcom series Darkstalkers in a game from 1996 called Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo, a game that has fighters combat via tile matching. Fact 85, Street Fighter Alpha Warrior's Dream included the first franchise crossover by including characters from the game Final Fight. Fact 86, Capcom tried to salvage the disappointing Street Fighter 3 with the release of Street Fighter Alpha 3. This game packed in as many characters as possible from Street Fighter 2 in the Alpha series while using none from Street Fighter 3. Fact 87, in 2014, Capcom and Cryptozoic Entertainment released Street Fighter Deck Building Game, a card game version of the video game series. The artwork used for the cards come from the game, Super Street Fighter 2 HD Remix and Street Fighter 4. Fact 88, in 1996, Capcom had its first true crossover by creating X-Men vs. Street Fighter. Fact 89, so we have Street Fighter X Tekken, the crossover with Street Fighter graphics, but let's not forget Tekken X Street Fighter, the crossover with Tekken graphics. While he does not know when the game will launch, Bandai Namco's Katsuhiro Harada assures us that the project has not been forgotten about and wants it to be a surprise. The name of the project may even change. Fact 90, upcoming Tekken game, Tekken 7, Fated Retribution, will add Akuma as a new challenger. Fact 91, Capcom continued to capitalize on the crossover in the following year with Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter. Fact 92, Street Fighter character Chun-Li had her own standalone live-action film in 2009 called Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li. Chun-Li's father gets kidnapped by M. Bison and goes on a journey for justice. Fact 93, director Andrzej Bartkowiak, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry for that, was more familiar with video game adaptations since he previously directed 2005 adaptation of the video game Doom. Fact 94, Jean-Claude Van Damme was offered to star in the sequel alongside Dolph Lundgren, but turned it down because he wanted to move on to other things. Fact 95, Robin Shao, who played Jin in The Legend of Chun-Li, also appeared as Liu Kang in both Mortal Kombat movies and appeared in DOA Dead or Alive. Fact 96, the credits in The Legend of Chun-Li listed different video games' alternate Japanese Japanese and US names for the bosses Vega and Bison and Balrog. Fact 97, in order to commemorate The Legend of Chun-Li coming out on Blu-ray and DVD, Capcom threw a party at Shadaloo Lounge in LA which included a Street Fighter 4 video game exhibition. Fact 98, Joey Unsaw created a live-action short film, Street Fighter Legacy, in 2010 and posted it on YouTube as a proof of concept video for Capcom. Unsaw succeeded in attracting Capcom's attention and approval to continue making Street Fighter content. Fact 99, Unsaw tried to segue Capcom and fan support into a Kickstarter campaign that would help fund Street Fighter Assassin's Fist. The campaign fell short, but the 12-episode series was eventually made in conjunction with Machinima Studios and Capcom. Fact 100, now Machinima has officially teamed up again with Capcom to make a new series, Street Fighter Resurrection. This is set to premiere exclusively on Verizon's mobile-only streaming service, Go90, in March 2016. Fact 101, the website www.streetfighter25.com was established in promotion of Street Fighter's 25th anniversary. The site contains a feature called Matchmaker that allows you to search for Street Fighter players in your area and make yourself visible to nearby players. Fact 102, when Capcom turned 30, the company organized promotional events across Japan, like the art exhibit in the basement of a Tsutaya store in Osaka. It included concept art from various Capcom games, including early Street Fighter character sketches. Fact 103, the Capcom Pro Tour is a league for competitive fighting video games. It hosts over a dozen official events, on top of many independently run tournaments throughout the year. Fact 104, players go through a year-long tournament circuit in order to claim one of the 32 qualifying spots to compete for the Capcom Cup. 16 players qualify directly from winning premier tournaments, 15 from the ranking point leaderboards, and one spot automatically reserved for the previous year Capcom's Cup champion. Fact 105, all premier events of the Capcom Pro Tour are live streamed via Capcom Fighters Twitch.tv channel. Everyone's on Twitch these days. Fact 106, Daigo Umehara, second place winner of the 2015 Capcom Cup, donated his $60,000 winnings to NYU's EVO Scholarship. This scholarship is meant to help members of the community pursue an education in game development at the New York University Game Center. That is absolutely amazing. Fact 107, Street Fighter V will be exclusively released on PlayStation 4 and PC. Thank you for watching 107 facts that we think you should know about Street Fighter. If you liked this one and you want to see some of our other shows that we think you would love, we have 107 facts about Metal Gear Solid and 107 facts about Heroes of the Storm, which you can hear my beautiful voice in. Please come back, like, and comment below if you have any games you think we need to cover.